Well, Thomas, EasyJet is calling it a major attack that it itself first discovered in January. As you said, roughly 9 million customers had their email addresses and travel data stolen. Now, among those, just over 2,200 had their credit card details accessed as well. EasyJet does say, though, that passport details are not among the data stolen. The company says it's already contacted customers whose payment info was stolen. It's now going public to warn all of its customers to be especially wary of what are called phishing attacks. Now, this is when fraudsters pretend to be the legitimate company and contact their target to ask them to provide login details for accounts, trying to trick these targets into revealing sensitive data that can be used to access accounts, login data, things like that can then be used to make purchases or transfer funds. Now, EasyJet hasn't revealed just how the data was accessed. It does say that the unauthorized access has been closed off. The airline says it's working with UK's National Cybersecurity Centre and the British Information Commissioner's Office in the wake of the attack. The ICO fined British Airways £183 million in July of 2019 over a data breach in which nearly 500,000 customers had their data stolen, including some payment details for a big chunk of them. Under the EU's recent GDPR data protection law, the ICO has actually seen its power to impose fines boosted. So we're going to see if EasyJet ends up facing similar consequences, quite possible.
Bryan, with much of the airline industry grounding its passenger jets because of this ongoing pandemic, this kind of cyber attack must surely be the last thing that a company like EasyJet needs right now.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Thomas. The industry as a whole is in serious distress. Passenger demand here in Europe and in the U.S. has collapsed by 90%. EasyJet grounded its entire fleet in mid-March. Flights are expected to resume in June at the earliest. It's managed to secure a £600 million loan from the UK government, plans to borrow another $400 million on the private market. But the company's founder has warned that the company could run out of cash by the end of the year despite all that money. Now, EasyJet's in the midst of some internal turmoil as well. That same founder has been fighting the board. He's pushing for the cancellation of a major order with European plane maker Airbus that's worth around £4.5 billion for over 100 A320 jets. So it's a rough time for the company, even before this and even before the coronavirus crisis. Now, besides the financial reasons, the fact that airlines are now working with reduced staff due to furloughs makes this kind of data breach and all the customer concern that comes with it especially difficult to deal with. It's also a period when, due to the coronavirus cancellations, a huge number of customers are trying to secure refunds for canceled trips, dealing with different departments, et cetera, which could potentially make them more vulnerable to what we were talking about with these so-called phishing attacks, which could in turn increase liability for the company. Now, the industry's major trade body says it does not expect the air travel sector to return to normal until 2023. EasyJet definitely not alone in having some bumpy skies ahead of it, but this obviously is some extra turbulence that it could have done without.
Okay, Bryan Quinn from France 24's Business Desk. Thank you very much.